This season, Instacart has your back to school. As in, they've got your back to school lunch favorites like snack packs and fresh fruit. And they've got your back to school supplies like backpacks, binders, and pencils. And they've got your back when your kid casually tells you they have a huge school project due tomorrow. Let's face it, we were all that kid. So first, call your parents to say, I'm sorry. And then download the Instacart app to get delivery in as fast as 30 minutes all school year long. Get a $0 delivery fee for your first 3 orders while supplies last. Minimum $10 per order. Additional terms apply.
This episode is brought to you by our good friends at NFL Sunday Ticket on YouTube TV. I'm sure by now you've all gotten back into your Sunday routines, but they could be even better. With NFL Sunday Ticket and YouTube TV, you get the most live NFL games all in one place, every game, every Sunday. And you can even watch up to 4 different games at once with multi-view, one of my favorite inventions of this decade. It's exactly what you need to catch all the action. Make your Sundays more magical. And also, YouTube TV is great. I got it this year. It's awesome. Sign up now at youtube.com/BS. Device and content restrictions apply. Local and national games on YouTube TV. NFL Sunday Ticket for out-of-market games excludes digital-only games.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. With the price of just about everything going up during inflation, we thought we'd bring our prices down. So to help us, we brought in a reverse auctioneer, which is apparently a thing.
Mint Mobile Unlimited Premium Wireless. How to get 30, 30, bit to get 30, bit to get 20, 20, 20, bit to get 20, 20, bit to get 15, 15, 15, 15, just $15 a month? Sold!
Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
$45 up front for 3 months plus taxes and fees. Promo rate for new customers for limited time. Unlimited more than 40 gigabytes per month. Slows full terms at mintmobile.com.
It's time to get in the zone. Time to get in the zone with the 49ers web zone. This is the No Huddle Podcast with Al and Brian.
49ers web zone, No Huddle Podcast. We're part of the Odyssey Network. I'm Al Sacco. And before we get started, I want to give a thanks to Panini for sending over some Optic hobby boxes to us. There's a link in the YouTube description for PaniniAmerica.net. And if you go to my Twitter page at AlSacco49, there's a pinned tweet to enter for a giveaway. 2 winners will get the hits from these boxes, autographed cards, numbered cards, all very valuable, courtesy of Panini, who've been really generous and really care about the fans of these giveaways. So I can't thank them enough. All right, there's a lot of Niners stuff to get to, and I'm excited to do it with our guest today. You can hear him from 2 to 6 Pacific on 95.7 The Game. He is Mark Willard. Mark, thanks for being here, man.
Yeah, Al, man, no problem, man. My pleasure. What's up?
Brandon Aiyuk is up, unfortunately, and it won't stop. And I just wrote, when I was doing these questions, Mark, I'm like, what do I want to talk about? What do we want to hit on? And of course, we have to do Aiyuk. And I just wrote Aiyuk, whatever the hell's going on, because we have no idea what's going on, what's going to happen minute to minute. I'm a little frustrated with the Niners, just with how they do their contracts to begin with. I think they're playing with fire, and maybe it's burning them now. And I'm frustrated with Aiyuk because it seems like he's been wishy-washy and he's acting like he's a free agent. And I think Niners fans are just sick of this. Where are you right now with this whole situation?
I'm kind of with you in that I've reached a point of being a little bit annoyed with everybody involved, because this very much has turned into a kindergarten playground fight. And apologies for my my offspring back here hanging out. But anyway, it's turned into a kindergarten playground fight, and somebody who's mature needs to come in and break it up and send everybody to the principal's office, because what's sort of abundantly clear is that everybody still wants to be together. I don't think that something would have happened by now if all of these leverage plays were actually going to be pushed through. You said something earlier, even in the setup of this. I don't understand why the 49ers have granted Brandon Aiyuk the quote unquote leverage that he seems to have here. There's having this whole argument about leverage, and people are like, see, Brandon has some. If Brandon has any, it's because the 49ers gave it to him. He is not a free agent, period. He cannot pick where he goes. He cannot go anywhere if the 49ers don't want him to. So the whole thing's a head scratcher. I think from the 49ers standpoint, they miscalculated this. They did not think that this was going to bleed into August and be this contentious, or else it wouldn't have gone that way, because good teams don't mess around with their good players in August. And as far as Brandon is concerned, from afar, my read is that he has taken a business situation too personally, and is looking at maybe the small sort of ego-driven side of this rather than the side of this which suggests, dude, look at the big picture. Look at your whole career. Look at the team you're on. Look at the quarterback you have. Look at the numbers you've put up here. I think both sides are really going to regret it if they don't get together.
And you brought up a good point. A lot of people have said to me, Al, he doesn't have any leverage. He's just basically, well, what he is doing is forcing leverage, and they're letting him do it, like you said. So he can play on his fifth-year option. He supposedly declined both of these trades to New England and Cleveland. And if you're the Niners, just say, listen, man, this is where we're trading you. You're playing on your fifth-year option. Like, end of story. But they are letting it linger. They're letting the Steelers offer linger. That I can't fathom how the Steelers are offering anything of note that would help them in 2024. They need to get a third team involved. And I think you're right. I just think they've played this horribly wrong. And it seems like there's no end in sight.
I don't know to what level. I've got to the point now, Al, I don't know to what level I buy everything we've been told, because it doesn't make any sense. I mean, you mean to tell me that not only do the Pittsburgh Steelers want Brandon Aiyuk at such a level, and I don't know, the reported 28 a year, New England 32 a year, Cleveland 30 a year, whatever. You're going to pay premium dollar for a wide receiver in the NFL, and you're going to give up as many as 2 picks and a player also in order to get that player 3 weeks before the season starts? If someone acquires Brandon Aiyuk in that way, and I love the guy's a very, very good player. If someone acquires him in that way, shape, or form right now, they're stupid. That's an absolutely ridiculous move if one of these other teams makes it, which is why I really don't know at this point what to believe. Both sides are playing the media, and what I hope they both realize is the media's arrived at a spot where we're exhausted with it, and there's a game in 3 weeks, and it needs to end.
Yeah, and everybody looks bad. I think the Niners do, Aiyuk does, and the media does, because it's just back and forth with things like you said. I don't even know how much credence there is to it. But what else is happening with this Aiyuk situation is the Trent Williams situation is kind of going under the radar a little bit. And he may be, I would say he's top 3 in terms of importance on the 49ers, and they need to get this done. I'm not worried yet. I'll be worried in 2 weeks if he's not there. But I kind of thought this situation was going to be like McCaffrey. All right, you give him a raise this year. You give him guaranteed money next year, and we're on our way. It's fine. You put some dummy years at the end. We're good. That's the restructure or whatever you're going to do. Are you surprised this is lingering too, or do you think it's just part of the Aiyuk situation not being done yet?
I'm a little surprised, but I'm with you. Concern day has not arrived yet. He's 36 years old. I don't think they want him there for the first week or 2 of camp. I don't think he wants to be there. And the other thing is, because in this one, no one is trying to use the media to leverage their position. We still really don't even know what this is about. We know historically that Trent has been, I think you could use the word petty in the past, wanting $10,000 extra to clearly be the number 1 tackle in the game. And he is the number 1 tackle in the game, but do you get to renegotiate that every year? I don't, that's not the way it works. Although they have, the player side kind of has a point, and it's like, well, the teams do that. They can basically cut us almost at the end of every year. And so I get the argument, but we don't really know what's going on behind the scenes. And I just keep defaulting to the 49ers are not stupid. And it's August of a huge year, and I just don't see them messing with their top players. That's why the Aiyuk thing is such a head scratcher. This one would be even bigger. I made the statement on my, for those of you who love to play fantasy football, which is everybody, I made the statement on my show yesterday. If Trent misses time, or if he's even sort of half speed for a few weeks at the start of the season, I'm downgrading McCaffrey out of the number 1 spot in fantasy football. And I make that point to sort of suggest to the 49ers what that means for their offense. It flat out doesn't operate the same way without him. And the Niners are fully aware of that. So, concern date for me is about the same time as you. We're at least a week, maybe 2 away still.
When it comes to towing, seeing is believing. That's why Chevy Truck's advanced camera technology offers up to 8 available cameras for 14 unique views, so you can focus on the view that really matters. Chevrolet, together let's drive. Learn more about Chevy Trucks at Chevy.com. Safety or driver assistance features are no substitute for the driver's responsibility to operate the vehicle in a safe manner. Read the vehicle owner's manual for important feature limitations and information.
Hey, fantasy football owners. The road to winning your fantasy football championship starts now. I'm Matt Harmon from Reception Perception. Join me and James Coe as we take a deep dive into the position that's going to make or break your fantasy roster. Wide receivers. We analyze route running, target share, and all the metrics that matter, giving you the insights you need to draft the best wide receivers. As you prep for your draft, let us give you the coverage you need. Follow and listen to Reception Perception on the free Odyssey app or wherever you get your podcasts.
All-star closer Kenley Jansen, we have a question.
What's the best podcast of all time? Baseball isn't boring, baby.
I'm Rob Bradford, and every single day I'm sitting down with the biggest names to show you this great game is the greatest game. It's my podcast. It's my passion. It's a cause I started more than 2 years ago and is now the most prolific national daily baseball pod there is. Another fact, so jump aboard the BIB Express. Follow and listen to Baseball Isn't Boring, presented by Wasabi Hot Cloud Storage on the free Odyssey app or wherever you get your podcasts.
It's funny you said that because I was just looking at that sort of thing too. How did the offense do when Trent wasn't there? And I had looked up McCaffrey. He had 27 carries and 99 yards in those 2 games last year when he wasn't there. So your point is really valid. You might want to downgrade him if Williams isn't there. And this is going to be my last contract question, I swear, and then we'll get to some real football. But
it's hard to get away from, I know.
Oh my God, every August with this. But Lenore and Ward are 2 huge parts of this team.
Yep.
And again, we've heard nothing. They're both in the last year of their deals. Would you prioritize one over the other? And are you worried the Niners are going to repeat the same mistakes with one or both of them?
Well, I'm always worried because that's just the nature of a fan in football. And when you have a team like this that's about to pay a quarterback and has so much attention and so many good players, the finances of it are going to be a challenge. And we've actually seen that for the last 3 years and not really realized that's what was going on. But now here we are, 3rd straight summer in a row where there's some sort of controversial holdout or contract conversation. So at this point, due to age, due to arrow up for a longer period of time, I would prioritize Lenore. At the same point, you really wonder. You wonder what some of the acquisitions they've made at that position are going to do this year. I'd argue that they have sort of slipped and fallen into a spot where their defensive back depth at the corner positions might be the deepest spot on the whole team. And when was the last time we could say that with the 49ers? So that's exciting. But yeah, I think I'd prioritize Lenore. And then the other point about those guys that I wish people would sort of enter into their Brandon Aiyuk opinions is I wish there was a fake world where we could see, because everyone will go, just give them the extra $2 million. And it's like, those are players you're talking about. Right. And I wish there was a fake world where you could go, okay, we'll give Brandon Aiyuk $29 million. But hey, fans, realize that means Ward is gone and Lenore's gone and Debo's gone, or maybe 2 of those 3. Would you still want to do it then? Because that's the way Kyle Shanahan years later has described the DeForest Buckner situation, which did not work out. But conceptually, when he explained it the way he did a few weeks ago, you get it. You get why sometimes teams have to make these tough decisions.
Yeah, it's the depth too. You look at Juwan Jennings, he's not making more than a couple $1 million. So what if that means you don't have a Juwan Jennings?
Right.
Players like that who have stepped up huge. He had the most receptions out of anybody in the playoffs last year. So it's those role players that can win you games. And I already think the Niners are in danger of being a little bit too top heavy. Now they have like 11, 12 blue chip studs, which is crazy, but their depth is suffering. And you mentioned the secondary, and I agree with you. The corners, I love that group. But what's interesting is this team has been built on the defensive line in the Lynch Shanahan era. Some of these new guys, I'm optimistic, but we'll see. Jordan Elliott was up and down in the run game in Cleveland. Chris Kosuric really likes him. Malik Collins is a good pickup, but he's more of a pass rusher. Leonard Floyd's getting older. Gross Matos is a complete unknown. We don't know what he's going to be. What are your thoughts on the depth on this defensive line, and how are you feeling? Positive, negative, indifferent?
Well, no, there's two things I think that are really on my mind. First of all, yeah, it is a little nerve-wracking because it's also a position that, I mean, let's be real. You're in the trenches. You're going to suffer some injuries there. So you got to have depth. I mean, the idea that Nick Bosa and Hargrave and Collins and Floyd are just going to go out there and play 17 games is ludicrous. And obviously, even if they did, you're going to need to be rotating people in and out. And as you said at the very beginning of this, and I hope every 49er fan understands this, the defensive concept, the very, very basic one for the 49ers is that they base it around the pass rush. They want those corners to be elevated as players because of the lack of time that the quarterback has. That's how they made their original leap when Kyle Shanahan took over. You remember that secondary had like 2 interceptions his first year. And then the same group came back and was a really good defense the next year because they elevated the pass rush, the arrival of Nick Bosa, things like that. So I do have concerns there, but I'm also really interested to see last year's narrative play out. The defensive line was the most vocal with regard to feeling confusion with regard to Steve Wilkes' system. I think it's hard for us fans to know what some of the intricacies of all that are, but that's how Nick Bosa and others were feeling. And obviously now with the combination, Sorensen moving up and all of the shuffle on the defensive coaching staff, this is supposed to be billed as a getting back to what we do kind of a year. And that's exciting to me because that group, whoever's been in it they've been great performers under that sort of base system. So those are the two things I'm watching. The depth is a concern, but do they get back to the levels of what they were doing in years past when Bosa looked like the best defensive player in the league?
Yeah, and the run defense is going to continue to scare me until I see otherwise. Sure. Just again, because we don't know about some of these guys. There's likely not going to be Greenlaw for a while, and if he's even himself when he comes back. Devondre Campbell, we'll see if he can find the fountain of youth or a renaissance season. And fans are excited about guys like Dee Winters, and I am too. But he's young. He made a lot of mistakes in that first preseason game. When it's late in the season, you don't really want to rely on a young player like that if you have bets like Greenlaw and Campbell who can hopefully step up. But what they're building around Mark for the next, hopefully 10 to 15 years, obviously, is Brock Purdy, right? I mean, this is the guy they're going to pay big money to, want him to be the franchise quarterback and carry the team, really. They have to build around him if you're paying a quarterback that kind of money. He had a great year last season, especially statistically. What are your expectations for him in year 3? Do you want to see him comparable statistics-wise? Do you just want to see him grow in terms of his reads and managing the team? Where are you with Purdy?
Yeah, I'm less about stats. And I think in this offense, those are going to come. But yeah, I definitely think at this stage of his career, you have to see growth. And this is the first season that he's ever had where he's had a full off season to be a starting quarterback, a known starting quarterback in the NFL. And my hope is that brings sort of the mental side of the game to a completely different level. So the number one thing I'm looking for is phenomenal decision-making, because I think that's the straw that stirs the drink in a Kyle Shanahan system. If you look at Jimmy Garoppolo's career now, and we all look back on it and it's kind of like, man, even when it wasn't perfect, you're like, how did it look like it did then under Kyle Shanahan versus what's happened in his career since then? But even with that said, I think what led to the eventual breakup between Kyle and Jimmy was Kyle just didn't love Jimmy's decision-making. And I think he really likes what he sees with Brock Purdy. However, I've still heard coaches say, boy, he gets a little, when the play breaks down, he likes to extend it, run around in circles a little bit. He may make some great plays that can get you in trouble. There's a play that's standing out in my mind. I think it was the opening drive. You remember last year coming out of the bye. They're on the 3-game losing streak. They're in Jacksonville. Yeah. And it was, I don't know if it was the opening drive, but it was early first quarter. Play breaks down in the red zone. Brock kind of rolls out left like he loves to do. And then he throws into a crowd. And in the back of the end zone, Brandon Aiyuk catches a touchdown. And the game is on its way, and the Niners are back on their winning streak. And after the game, Kyle Shanahan was like, I wanted to rip his head off when he got off the field for making that throw. He got away with it, but that's the kind of throw you want to see this year go away.
With Purdy, I think what we want to see is, can he be Drew Brees light? And I think that there's a lot of Tony Romo in him right now, which is what is scary to Kyle. With Purdy, people are going to compare him to last season. And Mark just jumped off here. We'll see if we can get him back on. But people are going to compare him to his numbers of last year. Last question I'll ask you. I was just talking about the Niners in terms of bad vibes people are feeling this offseason. And I said, well, they've been bad vibes for the last 3 off seasons with the Bosa contract and Lance and everything else. But there are a lot of injuries. They've played 60 games the last 3 years. They're getting older. Do you buy into the Super Bowl hangover, bad vibes stuff at all?
Not really. I really don't. I think a lot of that is actually just a numbers game. We call it a Super Bowl hangover, and the truth of the matter is, no matter how good your roster is, making a Super Bowl takes a lot of luck. You got to have health at the right positions, and in the NFL, that doesn't happen every year. And so they face that gauntlet like every other team does. I think it's so poetic, right, that Aaron Rodgers is coming to Levi's for the opener. And we remember last year, what was 3 or 4 plays into the season, and the whole landscape of the AFC changed. 3 or 4 plays into the season. And so that can happen to any team at any time. What happened to the Niners 2 seasons ago, we need no reminder. So I don't think it's about hangover. I just think it's about breaks, and do you get them every year? But if they're blessed with relative health, they're going to be there in the end. They're I don't know about Super Bowl or winning it or whatever, but they're one of a few teams that are going to compete on this front. And these bad vibes will go away if they come out and win the first 2 or 3 football games, and everybody will feel fine. And is everybody back in camp? And guys get over feelings real quick in this league. What I would say though about this offseason and the way that it has sort of unfolded with all of the Aiyuk stuff and others. The Niners are the best show in the game. Like, America's team has its owner and their top receiver, tweeting back and forth and holding out, and nobody's saying a word about that situation. That tells you that the Niners have kind of become the biggest show in the sport.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, if they're the big movie that everyone wants to go see, their trailer stinks. They're like they have not the vibe that you talk about, the excitement for week 1 that we should be feeling has sort of been ruined by, okay, we're tucking Christian away. We don't even know where Trent is. We're mad at Brandon. Like, that's not a fun trailer. Yeah. And so, I think our excitement is dampened a little bit, but it'll get going if they go out there and beat the Jets on Monday night in a few weeks.
Agree. If they start out 5-0 again, this is going to seem like a distant memory. So, all right, Mark, we appreciate the time. Thank you so much.
You got it, Al. Anytime, man.
9-0-3. 1-2-3.
2400 Sports is an Odyssey company.